Hello and welcome to another Justice for Gamers video. I'm Alex and I'm joined by my good friend Ash. Hello Ash.
Hey buddy, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I'm very much enjoying this game we're going to take a look at.
Yeah, hopefully it's on screen right now.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't know what would be there otherwise.
It'd be a bit weird if it wasn't.
So we've been playing Project Cars. We've been playing lots of Project Cars. I've been playing an absolute shit ton of Project Cars. And yeah, we thought we'd just do a little video of us being a bit inept at Project Cars and talk about some impressions.
Yeah.
What we think of it so far.
Definitely.
So, well, I suppose tackle the looks of the game first.
Yeah.
What do you make of it? Are you happy with the graphics and that?
Yes and no. It's nice because it's a bit shiny, but no, because it feels like it's very dead with the atmosphere of it in the looks department. All the cars look really nice. I mean, they've clearly gone to a lot of effort to get the models correct. But I just feel like the stands and all the area around the track hasn't got any kind of life to it, not like in games such as like Gotham and F1 and things like that, where it feels like it's a big event. But then again, if you think about it, most of the races that you'd be doing in this aren't high profile car races, so maybe it's a bit true to life. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think you're pretty much spot on. Like, the cars look fantastic, the tracks are modelled beautifully, and everything looks really sort of precise and realistic. But yeah, there's just nothing else. Like, as soon as you're clear of the track limits, then it might as well be cardboard cutouts.
Yeah.
There's no... It's completely dead, isn't it? Like, there's just nothing there, which is not a major problem, but it would have been nice if there was a bit more detail there. I think, yeah, it looks good. The cars look really fantastic.
Yeah, people go on a lot about how Drive Club really looks something special, but I don't know. If you really look at that game, it's not that great. And if you're comparing it to this, like, I don't know which one actually looks better. I know that Drive Club's got like more in the detail of like the background and stuff, but I still don't think it looks that great, in the scenery department, I'll say.
I think Drive Club looks better than this game does. I think the cars probably look a little bit better in Project Cars. But I think that the scenery and effects and weather and everything, I think it probably Drive Club shades it.
Yeah, definitely the weather.
Yeah, the weather is... the weather's quite impressive on both games. I think the weather looks good on Project Cars. But the weather effects on Drive Club are the best I've ever seen on anything. It looks incredible when you're in the middle of a hailstorm or thunderstorm on Drive Club. Then it's so atmospheric, it's ridiculous, and Project Cars can't really live with it in that department. But I do think that the effect that the weather has on the driving experience is much stronger in Project Cars. I think you get a little bit of rain on Brands Hatch and you will be flying off like a lot. But I think Project Cars does pretty much everything better than Drive Club does, other than probably the visuals, I would say.
Yeah.
Personally. So what about car selection?
To be honest, I haven't really looked at the car selection. I know there's a lot, and that's about it, really. Well, obviously you've gone through them.
Yeah, there's a good selection there, but in terms of it's not really going to be challenging with stuff like Gran Turismo, which is just ludicrous number of cars on there. Forza probably takes it as well. There aren't a great deal of cars in each class, maybe 4 or 5, sometimes fewer than that. But they all handle so differently. I find myself for the most part quite happy just having races of identical cars, like the Clio Cup and the Porsches and Atom Racing and that. Like I seem to prefer it on this game because it's a simulation. I like evening the playing field a little bit more, so it hasn't really been an issue.
Yeah, but even when we played GTA, we would all go in like the races in that, not comparing them, just saying that we would normally all go in the same type of car there, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Just because like it's fairer, and I don't know, that's the way I see that anyway.
Yeah, and simulation racing's all about that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's about sort of parity to a degree, maybe not in Formula 1.
You said that all the cars had like different handling and stuff. How are you finding the handling of this? Because I'm finding it a bit squishy in a way.
I'm really getting the hang of it now, but I think I've sunk about 25 hours in it by this point. In the career mode, you can change where you are in terms of what discipline you're doing, and it's kind of open at the beginning. You can go in at whichever tier you want. You can start with go-karts or GT4, or I started with the Renault Clio Cup. But if you choose a discipline and go into a championship, you'll still get invitationals. You can go and do sub races and stuff. So really, the career mode, the way it's set up with the calendar and everything, every single race you're probably going to be in a different car that handles differently or a different discipline. So at one point I was racing Clios in my main championship, Formula Golfs, which is sort of like GP4, in my sort of sub discipline, and then getting invitationals to sports car racing and American road car racing and stuff, and you start learning to adapt to all the different vehicles. But some of them are twitchy, some of them don't seem to turn at all. We just had to go in the Zondas, didn't we? And that's like, I don't know what was going on there. It didn't seem to turn.
Horrible.
Lots of. But it's getting used to it, though, isn't it? Like you could say, that's horrible. That Zonda, like, doesn't turn, but we obviously just weren't braking enough, and you'd get used to it. You'd get to grips with it, and that's part of the fun for me, is having all the different types of handling models and braking points to get the gist of. Some are easier to drive than others, and some are faster than others. I had to go in one of those McLaren, I think it was a McLaren F1, and you have to brake like 200 yards before the bend, which was a bit of a shock to the system.
So before even the warning signs come up?
Miles before, it's ridiculous. It feels like you're braking along half of every straight. But that's part of the challenge.
Gibbons. So what about like the mix of tracks? I had a quick look through earlier, and there seems to be a lot.
There's a really good mix of tracks. Obviously it's trying to tackle lots of different disciplines, so there needed to be all different types. There needed to be the sort of smaller circuits, the sort of homegrown circuits, as well as the internationals. There needed to be different tracks from different countries and so on, and I think that this game kind of excels here. This is one of the things it does better than most that I've played. If you're a touring cars fan, British touring cars, there's 4 or 5 of those circuits. You've got Brands Hatch, Donington, Snetterton, Alton Park. If you're a Formula 1 fan, you've got Silverstone, the Nürburgring, Hockenheim, Monza, Spa. There's a really good selection of sort of the sports car racing tracks and the GT3 tracks, stuff like Laguna Seca and Bathurst, some American ones, some desert ones, some woodland ones. It's a great selection, and then on top of that, because there's a couple of different go-karts, and there's go-kart racing in there, which is a lot of fun and incredibly difficult to control. There's 4 or 5 purpose-built go-kart circuits in there as well. There's lots to keep you entertained, and certainly when we're playing with our mates online for sort of on a sort of Friday night for 4 or 5 hours, then you just don't really want to stop playing, because you just keep changing disciplines, changing the weather, and it's got a bit of everything.
Yeah, Gibbons. I've definitely enjoyed it online so far. What about the AI? Have you had any issues with that so far?
It seems, I mean, the last racing game I played in any depth was Drive Club, and I thought the AI was really awful on that. They all just kind of they were completely on a track. They all just drove along on the racing line. Didn't seem to matter if you were there or not. Hitting you all the time. Not very good. This I've been quite impressed with. There's a difficulty slider which I quite like. Rather than you getting sort of easy, medium, hard or whatever, you've literally got a percentage slider. And when we were first starting out, I was racing on, I think, 40 out of 100 on there. On my career at the moment, I'm racing at about 60, and we had a go of 70 earlier, and that was pretty tough. But we were in those Zondas. They avoid you really well. Usually they won't hit you if you're on the racing line. If you've got rite of passage, then they'll sort of leave you to it. As you bump the difficulty slider up, they become more and more aggressive, and we found on sort of 70 that if we were in their way and they had right of way, then it was our job to get out of their way. I'm quite impressed by it. It's not perfect, but it's some of the best AI design I've ever come across on a racing game before, definitely.
Cool. What about, like, because obviously we've played this online quite a lot. How have you found the online? I mean, the main point is the fact that you can have private lobbies, which is a massive bonus compared to Drive Club. But what about, like, different modes? Is it just pretty much the same as the single player, or is there anything different?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that there are private lobbies shouldn't be a big deal, really, because the idea of a racing game coming out without them in 2015 or 2014, as it was, is ludicrous. So you can only sort of commend them so much for having private lobbies in there, but there's some really good little bits and bobs in there. It's fairly feature rich. So if you set up warm-up sessions and qualifying sessions, then anyone can join those while they're still going before the race starts, which is quite nice. It's kind of bare bones, I suppose, really, because it's literally create a room. You can invite people or have it public. It's got the option of adding AI, which you'd expect it to have. And it's pick a race, do that race, come back to the lobby, pick a race, do that race, come back to the lobby. I'd like some playlist options in there. I think that'd be nice. I know on the F1 games we used to sort of queue up 4 or 5 tracks and do a sort of mini championship, and that'd be really nice. It doesn't seem to keep score either of your progress in the lobby, which is a bit of an omission as well. So it's kind of very bare bones. Obviously it's supposed to be a simulation, but I think that you could have added some sort of arcadey modes in there, some touches, some team racing maybe, some elimination races, that sort of thing.
Cat and mouse.
Yeah, cat and mouse, yeah. But as you said, like coming off the back of Drive Club, where we literally couldn't play that game because you could only play public races, you couldn't even pick what track you wanted to do, and when you got in there you just got clattered into. And also it's worth noting on Project Cars, you will get nowhere if you're just clattering into the back of people all the time.
Yeah, it is a simulation, definitely. Yeah,
it's really hot on penalising, cutting corners, hitting other cars and so on. Does a really good job of that. We've come across some bugs and glitches, haven't we, across the online modes?
Yeah, there's been a couple. Not so much in the game, but when you finish the game, I had an instance where the camera went back to my car and he was continuously driving into a barrier, reversing and driving back into it again. I was like, well, that's one way to celebrate a win, I guess. You know. But
the countdown timer on there is ridiculous as well. It's like 300 seconds, and if there's, say, you and 3 friends playing and you all finish and the AI is miles behind,
or pitted,
you'll be sitting there waiting for it to finish. But yeah, there's a problem with pitting online at the moment as well, in that it will tell you, it often in a race, it will just pop up telling you to pit for no apparent reason, and you absolutely don't have to. But I don't know why that's happening. And then if you do pit, if you know, maybe you've got damage or you're doing a longer race, need to refuel, whatever, then it will often think you've cut the track. and you'll come out the pits, you'll roll out the pits, and it'll give you sort of 30 seconds at 40 miles an hour as a sort of punishment for track cutting. So there's some weird bugs and glitches there at the moment. As you say, like, it's very stable. We haven't had any problems really with lag or dropping out or anything. Nothing to do with the game. Runs really nice, and again, I think we're willing to give it the benefit of the doubt right now because of the experiences we had with Drive Club. So
yes, I think so.
Yeah, lots to improve on, but
a solid base.
Yeah, definitely a solid base. So overall, from what you've played so far, are you a fan? How would you rate this?
On a scale of 1 to 10? Good question. I would say, in my experience, like the first hour, I was very sceptical about it, but then after I got to my head round the fact that, okay, this is a simulation, I'd started really enjoying, like, finding where the braking points were in certain courses, and also trying out all the different cars and being like, wow, this car's really hard to handle, I'm not using it again, kind of thing. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I haven't had any issues with the AI apart from when I turned the difficulty up, and then I just wasn't good enough, and I was just in the way and getting hit all the time, which wasn't fun. But yeah, I would rate this up there so far in one of my top racing games of all time, probably.
Nice, man.
Or simulation racing games. Compared to like other ones that I've really enjoyed have been Gran Turismo 3. I really enjoyed that on the PS2. That was ace. What other simulation games have we really done? I mean, F1's.
The F1 games.
Yeah. I mean, I'd put it up there with the F1 games, really. Yeah. I'm really enjoying this game. It's awesome. What about you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I've played a lot more of it than you have because I've had the time to in the last week or so. I've been tucking into the career mode. It's just really satisfying, I find, and it's got a really good selection. It keeps me interested, it keeps me entertained. If I get bored of racing a certain car, then I know I'm safe in the knowledge that I'll be racing something else in the following race. It can be punishing, you haven't got this sort of Forza rewind system where you can just, undo your mistakes. You might go 15 laps around Spa and then bin it on the final bend and take a wheel off, and that's all over. But that's what makes it satisfying when you get it right. I think these things have to have that sort of edge to them. It really is. At this point, I'd have it right up there as one of my favourite racing games. I love the Formula One games. I think they're really cool. But the fact that you've got so many different disciplines on this makes a big difference. My favourite ever racing game was Project Gotham 4 on the Xbox 360, and I haven't played this enough to get anywhere near the mantle of that game. But it's a very promising start. It's got all of the things that I like in a racing game. I'm having a fantastic time on it, and I said this on our podcast last week, is I think probably the first game on the PlayStation 4, which is the platform that we're playing it on, where I'm thinking quite regularly, I really need to turn my console on. I really need to play some PlayStation right now because I want to play Project Cars. And I haven't had a great deal of that feeling since we bought these consoles. There haven't been that many real standout experiences that I couldn't have got on the previous gen. But it feels to me like this is one of them. So yeah, I'm having a ball on it, and I'm sure we'll be playing it for months and months to come.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what we think about it up until this point. We're fans, but we'd like to know what you think as well. Maybe let us know in the comments below. You can find us at www.justiceforgamers.com, Facebook /Justice for Gamers, Twitter we are at @JusticeForGamer, and you're on our YouTube channel, so I won't tell you what it is. Until next time, it's goodbye from me, Alex. It's goodbye from Ash.
Bye.
And we'll see you.